All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So hi everyone, how are you doing? Enjoying the cookies so far? Pretty good? Okay, well you can help yourself to more. My name is Casey Luxo. I'm the coordinator of transfer and off-campus student life. So I want to welcome everyone for a very informative presentation. We're really excited to have some partners here to present and to give you guys some really good information about how to find a scholarship. Who wants a scholarship? Who wants free money? All right, free money necessary for school, right? This is actually a really big need. 64% of transfer students at UMD indicate that they have some concern about how to finance your education. So if you're feeling that way, you're definitely not alone, and hopefully this information will give you some information to kind of get the ball rolling and give you lots of good ideas about how to find scholarships, okay? So just a couple things for introductions. First of all, I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists who will be with us today. So first of all, we have Dr. Leslie Bryce, who's from the National Scholarships Office, who will be presenting a little bit of information about some of the federal and national scholarships that you all can apply for. And we also have Crystal and Matt will be joining us, and those are student representatives that are going to talk about their experiences as a student applying for scholarships and giving you some tips. And at the end of the presentation, Jeff and I will give a little bit of information about some upcoming scholarship opportunities we have. And then we're going to open up for lots of questions and answers. So start thinking about any questions you might have. Unfortunately, our contact for the Office of Financial Aid could not make it today. So we'll be sharing just a couple additional resources on her. Oh, hello. Hello. How are you? On her behalf. So she'll be here. Melina Hang as well from the Office of Financial Aid. The last note I did want to mention is that we are actually going to be recording the session for all the students who maybe couldn't join us today, so just kind of keep that in mind. So without further ado, we actually have Melina here. So.
Hi, so my name is Melina. I'm with the Office of Student Financial Aid. Today I'm going to be talking about the different types of scholarships that you should be focusing on because really right now, because the tuition, there's a tuition hike, and then in terms of financial aid, you're not going to receive everything to cover the financial gap or your financial need is what we call it. So your focus really is to make sure that you are going outside beyond your scope to actually apply for private scholarships, and that's how you actually will be able to get some aid to cover the gap. So the types of scholarship that you need to be certain of is there's academic merit, which is typically linked to the admission application or your departmental. Once you confirm your major, you can talk to them and then see if there's any merit aid scholarships. There are also outside scholarships that is based on merit as well, but not all outside scholarships are based on merit. There's athletic ability, field of studies, ethnic background, religious affiliation, as well as special interests. So those are some of the types of private scholarships in terms of what you'll be looking at and some that you may qualify. So for preparing for an application, what you want to do is, I know it seems very simple. If you look at this, it's probably information that you can find online, but I cannot stress the fact that the information is there, but students aren't taking the step to actually apply for the scholarships. And then you're asking, where am I going to get the scholarships? It's kind of like you want to win the lottery, but you're not going to buy the ticket, so you'll never win the lottery. Same concept. So what you want to do is you make sure you want to follow the directions on the scholarship application, list all activities and honors that you've received. Neatness and grammar does count. So make sure you proofread your information. Make a copy of the application that you're submitting to make sure that you have a copy so that you can give them a call and follow up. Meeting the deadline is crucial. If you miss the deadline, even by 1 minute, your application is disregarded because there's a lot of other students who are applying for the same scholarships. You want to choose references that know you well. So, which mean that they know you personally, because if they know you well, they're going to be able to write you a very, very well-written recommendation. You can absolutely tell if you're sitting there reading a college application, you can tell where the recommendation person who wrote the letter know the candidate and where they don't, because it would just be plain old ordinary letter that's just being sent in. Proof your application or essay. So make sure you proofread all of your essays. Managing scholarships. Most scholarships are gift aid, but some have requirements. So make sure you check out the requirements. Understand all the terms and conditions before accepting any awards. Make sure you read it. Sometimes even financial aid office, there are scholarships where you are awarded, but then you're required to do 2 years of service before the awards turn into loans. So you always want to make sure that you read the terms and conditions. You want to know if the scholarship is renewable. Do I need to do anything for the following year? Many require completion of the FAFSA application, so we always recommend to students to complete the FAFSA regardless of your income, because sometimes they just want that information. Understand how scholarships may impact other aids. So that's very important to know. If you are getting outside scholarship, it may impact your total financial aid packet that you're receiving. So always check with a financial aid counselor. And here are some of the tips. So save time and improve your odds of success. What you need to do is you need to apply for local scholarships. I know everyone wants to go for the national scholarships, but that's very hard to get and very competitive. So you want to focus more on your local community to see if they have any private scholarship out there. Apply for scholarships with smaller awards. I know students always think, it's only $500. Why should I spend this much time doing it? But $500, adding a couple $500 will actually pay for your books as well as the room or board. So always apply regardless of the amount that you're receiving. Sometimes you'll notice that a lot of scholarships that have a smaller amount, maybe not too many people are applying to it, so then it actually higher your chance of receiving the funds. More work equal fewer applicants equal better chance. We know that, right? So the more work you have to put in, probably not too many students want to go through all of that entire work. So make sure you pay attention to that as well. The more work you do, the better chance that you'll get. Get personal. When in your essay, talk about yourself. So that give them something so that they can take away from that essay, something about you. Satisfy all of the requirements. Proofread again. Make sure you submit the essay early or application early. Don't wait until it's 11:59 and the application is due 11:59. That will, there's a chance that maybe your computer doesn't work or something doesn't work, then you'll miss out the chance. Apply for as many scholarships as you can. This is not about applying to 15 scholarships. No, it's not. It's about applying to as many as you can. I have a student 3 years ago, actually attended University of Maryland, who applied for, I think, up to 300-something scholarships application that she sent in, and she actually did receive funding that fully cover her cost of attendance. So this I can tell, and actually this is the only one student that I worked with in 11 years that actually submitted 300 application. But I mean, it tells me that it does work, but I know it takes a lot of time. But if you think about it this way, if you work at Starbucks 8 hours, you're getting what, $8 an hour? I'm just making things up, but that's $80. So you spend that eight hours and submit 10 scholarships. You might get something back, right? And you might get $1,000. That's still a better return of investment. So you have to actually be creative and think differently. And then, of course, don't give up, because there are a lot of scholarships out there, and you do have to pay close attention to what is valid and what's not. Social networking tools. I know we all know about social networking. They're all over the place, Facebook, fan page. We have Burger King, for example, will announce their scholarship on there. Lincoln also have scholarships opportunity. MySpace page, I never use MySpace, but I'm sure. And Twitter, for our office, we use Facebook and Twitter. We try to post as many private scholarships as possible on our website. We're not very proactive right now because of our staff. But look through those pages, and it doesn't have to be University of Maryland. Go to Michigan, go to Johns Hopkins, wherever they post private scholarships, because you're still eligible to apply. Does that make sense?
So you're saying that you have a fan page on Facebook that posts scholarships?
We try to post scholarships. It could be departmental scholarships, state scholarships. Yes, so we do try to do our best in terms of giving at least 2 to 3 scholarships per week, but sometimes it's very hard because we want to make sure that anything that we post on there is valid. So we have to do a lot of screening.
So what is that Facebook page called?
I think it's Office of Student Financial Aid, University of Maryland. I can't remember exactly. Or University of Maryland Office of Student Financial Aid. I have it on my phone, but I can't remember. Just search the University of Maryland Financial Aid or something like that. And we are on Twitter as well. I think it's UMOSFA. That's our tag name for Twitter. So here are some of the scholarship sources that I've listed that we've seen students use that are successful. So Adventure and Education Scholarship Search. And I can give you this copy of the PowerPoint at the end, so maybe I can send it and then you somehow give the information to students. College Board Scholarship Search. So this is just a listing of all of the scholarships that search engine that you can go, and then you can actually search for scholarships. And then you'll notice that this is just a snapshot of what it looks like on your left-hand side. Most scholarships will allow you to create your profile, so you put in all of your information, your GPA, as well as what you're good at, your hobbies. It could be tennis, could be left-handed, whatever it is. But believe it or not, there are scholarships for left-handed folks. That is true. I always thought it's a myth, but it is not a myth. It is true. I think we have one for University of Maryland too. So so you can input your criteria and then whatever you want to bring out in terms of yourself. You can put all of that information in the criteria. You want to make sure, when you're doing the search, just be careful, and that's the only thing I can say so much, but you really have to be careful. And then there's also more information about Mapping Your Future. Is a really good website. I don't know if any of you have tried it before. Check that out. There's a lot of resources on that website. And here's the newer one, Unigo. This one is one of the newer scholarship apps that we found that were useful. We also, the Office of Student Financial Aid, we have scholarships that are endowed fund, and we have the application for it. So this is for University of Maryland students. If you have financial need, you should go online, complete the application. It is on our website. So you'll see it'll say OSFA scholarships application. Avoid scholarship scam. This is one of the most important. You want to make sure you read the fine line and then also understand the terms and conditions. Beware of guarantees. What that means is, if you pay me this much, you're guaranteed to receive $1,000 of scholarships. You should not have to pay for scholarships, for searching scholarship and for applying scholarships. That's the one thing you need to put in your mind. Also, make sure you read a little bit more to make sure that your information is being protected. And if you have any questions about the process and whether it's a scam or not, you can always go to the Federal Trade Commission. So there is a place where you can you can go there and then get more information in terms of what is a scam and what's not. And also, if you're dealing with a scholarship vendor, and if you think that they are scamming students, you can also report that information to them. They're very good at it. We've done that before, and they've caught the folks. So you can go on this website. There's a lot of information about the scam. But my main point is you should not have to pay for applying for scholarships. And that was the end of the PowerPoint. I'll stay around until the end just in case anyone have any questions. But really, I don't know how else to say it. If you don't apply, you're not going to get anything. You can sit here all day long, all 4 years here. You're not going to get any scholarships if you don't apply. You have to take the step and start searching. And a lot of information is on Google. I mean, we have the internet, right? It's not like before you have to go to the Patterson book and try to figure out what. Just go online. Everything is within your finger. It's a touch of your finger. So, okay.
Thank you so much. No problem. Extremely helpful information and lots of great resources. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Bryce, and I'm really thrilled to be here and have the opportunity to speak to all of you. First of all, let me just underscore everything that you said, about applying. If you don't apply, you're not going to get it. And apply broadly. Oh, this is on an automatic. Oh, sorry. Okay. So you need to do the same for national scholarships. It is true that they are going to be more competitive. The programs that my office works with are exclusively national in scope, and they tend to be more for opportunities outside of tuition. So these are going to be opportunities like language learning, research, study abroad. Sorry. Yeah, thank you, thank you. And so I get a lot of calls for tuition assistance, and unfortunately we're not able to help you with that. But we do like to talk with you regardless, because it may be that you do have interests in other things that we can be helpful to you. So that's one of the reasons why we encourage people to go to our website, meet with us, connect with us. But first of all, before I start talking about national scholarships, do you know what that means? Have you heard of any national scholarships? Thank you, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Would the Gilman be one?
Yes, and I'm going to talk about Gilman, yes. Okay, yes, in fact, I'm going to talk about Gilman primarily, and then I'm going to touch on a couple of other programs that our office works with. So these are merit-based awards, okay? Some of them do have financial need, like Gilman, but most of them are going to be exclusively merit-based. They're going to be nationwide, and they're going to be more focused on helping students achieve their longer-term goals, their objectives. They're interested in helping students pursue their interests, and they offer a lot of experiences. So I know the immediate need is how to finance your education, and there are some that can help with that, but they are very few. But on top of that, making the most of your time while you're at the university, and also thinking of ways to help you achieve your longer-term academic goals as well as your professional goals, if you know those. So in terms of what these programs are looking for, the first thing is your academic strengths. Now, not all of them have a minimum GPA. In fact, many of them don't. But in any event, GPA is only a start. They're looking more broadly, more holistically at your background. They're going to be looking to see if you've been challenging yourself. Have you been pursuing research opportunities, if that's relevant for you? Have you been pursuing interesting internships? If you want to go to graduate school in anthropology, have you pursued an honors track in your department, or do a senior honors thesis in anthropology? They're looking for students who have engaged in meaningful activities, meaningful extracurricular activities. So it's not a matter of how many things that you do, it's what you do. And they're looking for people who tend to be pretty focused in that. So again, it's not quantity, but rather the quality of your activities. They should be able to determine what you care about. So if you're applying for a program that I'm going to mention, the PPIA program, it should be clear that you care about international affairs, which is what that program is about. And you should have a track record to make sure that you have been doing the kinds of things that will support you in that longer term interests. Oh. Let's see. So the first program I want to talk to you about is the Gilman Scholarship. This is one of my favorite programs to work on because I get to meet a lot of students, and we do a lot of outreach for this program, and we do really well. This is a State Department program, and they give about 3,000 scholarships a year, up to $5,000 for you to study abroad. Sorry, I'm a Mac person, so that's why I'm a little disoriented. So the Gilman program is designed to help students who have financial need meet the cost of studying abroad. And it will support study anywhere in the world as long as it's not in the State Department travel advisory warning list of categories 3 and 4. So they won't support a program in Iran, for example, as enriching as that would be. So it's got to be a level 1 or level 2 country. But outside of that, they're very open. And what they want to see is they want to support students who can really benefit from an international experience and who will use this experience to help them achieve their longer term academic and career goals. In order to be eligible, you do have to be a Pell Grant recipient. So you have to have that federal financial need-based grant. You do have to be a U.S. citizen at the time of application. You have to be an undergraduate in good academic standing. Now, there's no minimum GPA for Gilman. If you are eligible to study abroad, you're eligible for Gilman. It has to be for either coursework or for an internship, an eligible credit-bearing internship for a minimum of 3 weeks in one country. Now, there are some preferences. They do look, all things being equal, they do look at students who are going to diverse regions. So they will give some preference to countries outside of Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand. But that said, we have a lot of our students who go to those regions. As long as they can make a good argument for choosing those countries. They also give preference to students studying critical need languages. So those are languages like Arabic, Russian, Japanese, Chinese. And they will supplement your study for up to an extra $3,000. So you could get a total of $8,000 if you study Arabic and you want to go to Morocco to study. They also give preference to students in science, technology, engineering, mathematics fields because typically those students don't apply in numbers compared to other fields. And they also look very closely at first-generation college students and transfer students. And I can tell you, we have had a lot of Gilman scholars over the years, and a lot of them were transfer students. And that's why I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today, because you are the kind of students that Gilman is looking for and looking to support, because they know that you have a lot of wonderful things to offer, and they want to give you opportunities to cultivate those possibilities. Oops, wrong way. As I said, they will give up to $5,000 for an award. I would say the average is more like $3,500, but still, that's not bad for a summer study abroad. And you can use this money to pay for the cost of the program. That would include tuition, your housing, travel. They will write you a check directly, so it bypasses the financial aid office altogether. And there is somebody in the financial aid office who works with people applying for Gilman. His name is Will Thompson.
Yes. Yes.
And he's wonderful. Our students do really well with this. So just to underscore your point, you have to apply. With this program, we track how many students apply versus how many are eligible to apply and study abroad. And we found that half don't apply for Gilman. So they're eligible to apply, but they don't actually follow through with the application. And there are a lot of reasons for that. People are busy. And when I talk to them, they'll say, well, the deadline just got here very quickly, and we understand how that goes. I'm working 2 jobs. I have to drive an hour and a half each way. There's only so much time in the day. I'm taking a full load. It's difficult. So we encourage you to start early. And we start doing outreach months before an application deadline. So you have that breadth of time to approach it more at a pace that works for you. And we support you. We will sit with you from the very beginning up until you apply. We'll give you feedback on your essays and talk more broadly about your plans. The national acceptance rate for this program is 30%. We do 45%. So that just gives you an idea of how strong and how well our students perform with this program, which is pretty competitive. So in the last 2 years alone, our students have brought in over $250,000. Now, just to go back to the point about making it worth your time, so this is piggybacking off of what you said, average award being about $3,500. The cost for you to take out or do this, 0, maybe 6 to 8 hours of your time. That's not a lot of time for what you can get. Now, if you took out a loan, and this is what students tell me when I ask them, well, what are you going to do? I'll just take out a loan. I'll just take it on. I hear that a lot, and this concerns me. When we look at average interest rate, 4.5%, over average length of 20 years, compounded monthly, what does that $3,500 become? Any ideas? Not from you, though. Does anybody want to make a reasonable guess?
6,000.
That's very close. So I didn't learn about compound interest until I was in graduate school. Nobody told me about compound interest. So here I am. I'm still paying back my graduate student loans. Don't do this to yourselves, okay? We want you to get out to, get your job, buy your house, do whatever you need to do to get on with your life. We don't want you to be bogged down with your loans, especially when there's a State Department program that can help you, okay? Application isn't hard. It's not easy, but it does require some time. It's online. There are 2 deadlines a year. I'll mention more about that in a moment. There are 2 essays. We will help you. We will give you feedback on these essays. They're about 1.5 pages, single space. Very manageable. You do need to submit your official Maryland transcript and your prior institutions. No letters of recommendation. But that means it's really on you to advocate for yourself and explain to a committee why this makes sense for you. So depending on when you study abroad, there are 2 deadlines. The early October deadline is for study abroad in the spring semester. And then there's an early March deadline for programs in summer as well as fall and academic year. We do information sessions for both. We're always at the Education Abroad Fair. So if you're interested in this, please let me know and we can talk about how it might make sense for you. Okay. And also, you need to work with the Education Abroad office. So there are 2 processes that you need to do concurrently. So you work with us to help you with the Gilliman, and then you work with the Office of Education Abroad to complete your Education Abroad application. Now, another program I want to mention that, because our students have done really well with, is the Public Policy and International Affairs program. This is a program for college juniors who apply as a junior who are interested in international affairs and policy. Those 2 are non-negotiable, so you have to have that interest and care about a career in public service. And what this program does is it pays for a summer institute at one of those 5 institutions. And you are going to be in a cohort of students who have similar interests, and you will be pushed. It is a competitive program, and it's a difficult program once you're there. We've had students come back and say, oh my gosh, it was so hard, but it was so worth it. I learned so much. You get a lot of coursework in statistics. Like, they give you the analytical tools to do policy and to do international affairs work. It is a rigorous program. I cannot lie about that or sugarcoat that. But our students do it, and they thrive, and they go on to interesting things. With something like this, in your experience, it's only going to really help you open doors in the future. And they pay for everything with the Junior Summer Institute. But if you go to one of those institutions, not all of them, I know that Carnegie Mellon, I think University of Minnesota participate, they will help fund your graduate career for a 2-year master's degree. So, looking ahead, if this is the kind of program that makes sense for you, I really encourage you to think about it. It is a rigorous program, but it's enriching, and our students who participated go on to do wonderful things. And they also like transfer students a lot, and we've seen them succeed in that program. Just very quickly, I also want to mention the Fulbright program. If you've done some study abroad, if you have international interests, and if you can benefit from this program, I encourage you to start thinking about it now. You apply to do this at the earliest your senior year, and you do it after you graduate. But the Fulbright program, just to back up for a moment, is another State Department program. It is our nation's flagship institutional program to promote cross-cultural understanding. It began in 1946 after World War II, when Senator Fulbright said, hey, we need to do something to promote cross-cultural understanding. And this program is more important now than ever. So here, too, our students do very well. We outperform the national average. And it's something that I want you to think about if it makes sense for you. It's open to all U.S. students who are U.S. citizens who are recent graduates, and if you're going to go into graduate school, you could apply then as well. If you're a performing artist, you could apply that way, or even as a young professional, if you're a recent graduate, you can apply for this. And we work with students after they've been out 4 or 5 years. And it will provide an academic year's worth of funding for you to study or teach or pursue professional training in the arts. There are 2 tracks for this U.S. student program. First is the study research track. So this is something you decide. You design a research project. So let's say you're doing an honors thesis in government politics on China, and you want to continue that. You can write a proposal to go to China and continue working and doing research on that. Our students do that. You could also apply to teach English. Now, the second program operates in fewer countries. The first one is in about 140 countries. The ETA program is more about 50 countries or so. It changes a little bit from year to year. But if you want to teach abroad, you can do that through this program. And you don't have to want to be a teacher. In fact, I would say many of our ETAs don't. But they all have had some kind of teaching experience, whether it be as a teaching assistant, tutor, coach, camp counselor, something along those lines. And again, our students do really well with Fulbright. Hold on, let me back up a second. Yes, I want to point out Mohammed. He had a Truman, he had the PPIA, he had a Wrangel, which is similar to PPIA. He just finished Fulbright. No, he's still there, he's still in Morocco. Transfer student from Hagerstown, okay? Barrett Wessel, he just finished his year in Denmark, transfer student from Howard Community College, okay? And now he's in the PhD program here. He transferred in as an undergraduate, then finished his bachelor's degree here, and then immediately enrolled into the PhD program. So he had a wonderful time. He gained a lot from the experience in Denmark. So here too, you have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to have your bachelor's degree by the time you start. You do have to have sufficient language ability for the host country. You have to be in good health. For the future, just keep in mind you can't have your PhD when you apply. And some countries do not allow dual citizens. So one last thing I wanted to mention, if this may be of interest to some of you or people you know, there's a wonderful organization in San Francisco called the Educators for Fair Consideration. It's a nonprofit group that works in helping undocumented students pay tuition, apply for scholarships, and stay in school. And they do wonderful work. I don't know if you can read the website here, but www.e4fc.org. I encourage you or your friends, anybody you know, to go to this website if it makes sense for you. They're a wonderful resource. I saw them give a talk at a conference a few years ago, and I was just so impressed with them. Unfortunately, we can't work with a lot of programs. Our office is a 2-person, so we can only work with about the 90 programs we already work with. But I still want students to be aware that these other resources exist. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Crystal. I work for Casey at the Transfer Off-Campus Student Life, and I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and the scholarship that I applied to, as well as what I write in my essays to get these scholarships. So I am a U.S. citizen. I'm also a Maryland resident. I came from Prince George's Community College, and now I'm at University of Maryland. I'm a female. I'm also a minority that's studying mathematics. So volunteer, during the winter and the summer, I go to a soup kitchen called Martha's Table in Washington, D.C. I was also part of the Vintage Voices at University of Maryland, in which we won the UMD Duga Challenge. And I hope to have a job that is a direct correlation to helping a cause. So one of the scholarships that I apply to every single year is the State District Senator and Delegate Scholarship. So for the Senate Scholarship, you only have to apply once, but for the delegates, you have to apply every year. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of how you can find out how to get these scholarships. So you go to this website right here we have, and what you do is, it's this page, and what you do is you put your address in here. This isn't my address. This is actually the 10 Rens. So they're really good bubble tea. So you basically put it, and then it's going to show you your elected officials. So you want to look at these guys right here, your state senator, as well as your state delegate. This is like the district you're in. And so all I did was go State Senator James C. Rosa Peep scholarship on Google, and this is his scholarship website. And then right here is actually the application website. So that is how you apply. Okay. So, like I said before, you only have, where am I going? Okay, you only have one senator and you actually have 3 delegates. The really important part, the reason why I mentioned I'm a Maryland resident is because this only applies if you are a Maryland resident, because these are Maryland delegates, senators. These are actually your elected officials. You can actually vote for them. It's also important that you fill your FAFSA on time. The other important part is you do need letters of recommendation. You need either, sometimes 2. The reason why I say that is because I always say it's good to give at least 2 weeks ahead of time for someone to write your recommendation. And for the delegates, you have to apply every year. So what I write in my essay, you want to write a little bit about your past and your present. So I come from a low socioeconomic household, but my parents didn't get a college degree. I'm actually a first-generation college student. It's also, you can talk about if you're a minority, if you are a woman, especially studying in a male-dominated industry major. I think actually 6.7% of females actually graduate in STEM compared to the 17% of males. And also you want to talk about how you're contributing back to the community, how you're, so different things. And then you also want to write about your future and how your college education will help you get a job that's going to be contributing back to the community. So you can talk about, for myself, I do want to be a public speaker. I do want to advocate for human life and the planet, maybe run for office. But I do want to say it is okay if you don't know exactly what you want to do. Just have an idea of what you want to do at the moment. And here are other ways to get scholarship and money. This is the website for all state scholarships for the state of Maryland. It's also good if you check your emails from your academic counselor as well as your department. They send a lot of emails to me all the time, and which can be annoying, but they do send ones with scholarships, so that's important. And also you have to kind of get creative with Googling. Part of what I did last semester as part of my TOESL job was I combined a whole bunch of scholarships for transferring off-campus students. So how I did it was basically I did UMD, and then I put in the major of college. For this example, it's the College of Arts and Humanities, and then I put scholarship. And then I think this is the first option you get if you're put this in Google, this website. I think one of the speakers said this before, that small scholarships are important to apply to because they do add up. And it's also good if you work at the University of Maryland or other jobs. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Come over here so I can do that. All right. Hey guys. So my name's Matt, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit more about how you might want to actually go about writing your application. So this is going to be focused towards like the essay part of the application, which 99.9% of scholarships you apply to are going to have a writing portion. So this is an important thing to think about. So a little bit about me first. So I am also a transfer student. I transferred from a 4-year college in New Jersey, and now this is my 3rd and final year here at Maryland, so graduating in a month. I study, thanks Jeff. So I study astronomy and planetary science, and I'm recently got into graduate school, so I'm going for my PhD. I'm out in New Mexico. So I've kind of done a lot of applications recently, even if not for specifically scholarships. Scholarship-wise, I've been fortunate enough to receive some from my department, the College of Computer, Mathematical, and Natural Sciences. I also serve as the president of an organization called Tau Sigma. We're an honor society for transfer students, so if most or all you guys are transfers, maybe you've heard of us. And I've gotten a scholarship from that as well. If you have questions about that, you can ask me afterwards or some other time. So that's just a little bit of background about me. And I've applied for a lot of this stuff, so hopefully what I talk about can make sense. So I think this has sort of already been said, but you just gotta apply. Like if you look at something and you say, oh, I'm not gonna get that, you don't bother applying, that's not the mindset to have. Even if you think it's a long shot, you just gotta put yourself out there. Because you never know. Even if it's like, oh, it looks like this is a lot of work, well maybe 20 other people think that and don't apply and you're the one that does. And so it's really important to kind of just get that in your head. All right, I'm just going to do it, and it'll give you practice even if you don't get it, practicing doing these applications for the future. Okay, so now talking about some of the things you want to understand before you actually get into writing your essay. So a real basic thing, like the first thing is what is the scholarship you're applying to based on? Is it service and involvement? Is it academic or merit based? Diversity, minority, financial aid, that kind of stuff. Because that's what you want to gear your essay towards. So all of those things are probably things that would appear in any of your essays for any scholarship application. But if it specifically says it's based on academic merit, maybe you want to focus on that a little bit more in your essay and have the other stuff kind of be like supporting, whatever you're focusing on. So it's going to kind of help guide you where you want to go when you're writing, and kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you're going through writing for this application. On a more specific level, they're also going to have like specific requirements or requests, and that's something else you want to structure your essay based on. So if they say, how have you helped your community or something like that, make sure you address that. Even if you don't have that much to say, at least acknowledge that they asked for that. Because you don't want to come off as like, oh, I ignored something that the application asked for specifically. Because if you leave something out, that could really kind of hinder your chances at actually getting it. But so those first two things are kind of just familiarizing yourself with what exactly they're asking for to help guide where you want to go with your writing. So now, okay, you want to actually start writing your essay. So a really easy thing to do is to just introduce yourself or repeat whatever prompt they're giving you. People who are reading these applications are presumably going to be reading a lot of them, and so you want to try and get yourself to stand out. So if you're starting out right away with introducing yourself, presumably that's information that's already in your application. That's probably the first thing you did. They know who you are already. And then repeating the prompt again, that's just something that maybe a lot of people do, and it's easy to do. So what you want to do is try and be more creative. Everyone has, their story. We're all or most of us transfer students, or some underlying theme that maybe applies to your life or something the work you've done to get to this point. So you want to try and at least start out with that and play on that and hopefully connect it to the main content of your actual essay. And you can kind of tie it all back together at the end. So I tried to come up with a very simple example. So let's say the prompt was something like, what makes you a great candidate for this scholarship? Will probably never be that. That's pretty vague, but all right, just to start off the essay. As a transfer student, I feel I have a unique perspective on the college experience. Starting anew at a school where I didn't know anyone really motivated me to get more involved and to work at making my time at UMD an overall success. I think this hard work is reflected by and then I could kind of get into the stuff that's relevant to the application. So I sort of established like my story. I'm a transfer student, and the theme of like, okay, this is something that's impacted my life in a positive way and has kind of driven me to do the things I've done, and then I can start talking about why I think I'm actually a good candidate for this. And it only took a few sentences, so maybe a better way to start than just repeating whatever the prompt is or saying, hello, my name is Matt, or something. However, you don't want to get too caught up in your own story, and I have an asterisk here, unless that's what they ask for. I know that maybe sounds a little contradictory, but it very much depends on the actual scholarship. So if it's something that's like merit-based, so like, you know, I come from a science background, I just applied to graduate school, they want to hear more about like the research that I've done and maybe less about, you know, my life leading up to this point. But again, so this one's more, you have to really understand what the application's asking for. So focus on why you're a good candidate. Some of that other stuff that we talked about, academics, community service, accomplishments, previous awards. And then your story is definitely gonna have like relevant information, like if you're a minority or you come from a, you know, tough financial background. But that might be more like supplemental or supportive information that you can use to sort of start and end your essay, and then in the middle, really talk about the stuff that's going to be crucial to what they're looking for. But again, disclaimer, that really depends on how the prompt is worded and what type of scholarship it really is. So this is kind of just a general thought to keep throughout the essay when you're writing. Showing is better than saying. So I have two statements here. I'm really strong versus I bench 300 pounds. So neither of those statements are probably ever going to appear in any application for your scholarships, but I'm just trying to illustrate the point. One of them, they both say that you're strong, but one of them actually proves it. Now that goes as far as like, do you want to believe that I can bench 300 pounds? I don't know, but that's up to you. But yeah, the second statement actually shows that you are really strong, instead of you just saying that you are. And so if you apply that to some of your other things, like you can say, okay, I do a lot of good in the community. All right, well, what have you done? You can just, it's easy to just say that, but you got to kind of talk about what you've actually done and show that in the application. So you want to be really specific and make sure you show them what you did rather than say what you did, if that makes sense. This one's a little more of a suggestion and kind of a personal thing for me, so you can take this as you want. Most or all of writing portions of these scholarships are going to have word limits or page limits. What I like to do is just ignore that the first draft you write. Because if you're saying, oh, I know I only have 400 words, maybe you don't include something that may be important for the application. So the first go around, you know, you can just write freely. Just write to answer the question. And then if you end up going over the word count, then afterwards you can decide what's most important, what's really important for the specific question they're asking, and whittle it down from there. I have first in caps and in red letters because really you should be writing more than one draft, or at least writing one draft and then going back over it and proofreading it. You don't want to just write it and then submit it without even kind of like editing it a little bit. So this one is really up to you if you feel like this is something you feel comfortable doing, or if you feel better saying, I know I have 500 words and just going from there, that's cool too. But for me, I guess I just feel like I can write better without thinking that I don't have any restrictions, and then kind of adhere to that afterwards. You also do want to make sure that you hit the word count. That's just, even if it's only a few words over, it might not be a big deal to you, but it just goes back to showing that you're giving them exactly what they ask for in the application. So, yeah. Overall, you just want to keep it professional. Stuff like humor can really be a really big risk, especially in writing. You know, we've all been there where like maybe you send a text and it's supposed to be sarcastic and the other person doesn't get it, and then you just look stupid. You don't want to do that, especially not in a scholarship application. And just in general, spelling and grammar, you know, I think that should be something that everyone's pretty aware of. And don't necessarily write how you would speak or text. Like I'll tend to say like wanna or gonna a lot when I'm talking. You could write the best essay in the world, but if you have a wanna in there, that might just take you out of the running right on spot. So really just double check for stuff like that. And as funny as I'm sure you all are, probably avoid humor. Another big thing is once you do have an essay that you feel comfortable with, have a professor or an advisor read over it. These are people that have seen a lot of applications for a lot of different things, scholarships, jobs, admissions type stuff, whatever it is. So it's a really good resource. So once you sort of go through and feel like, okay, I think I have something here, definitely bring it to somebody like this, and because they have a good handle on what makes a good application. And they'll give you some tips and maybe say, move this around, or they might even catch like a grammar or spelling mistake that you missed. And lastly, don't leave it till the last minute. We've all crammed for a test or written a paper like the night before for 12 hours straight, and the quality of work suffers. It really does. So this is something that you really want to try and get yourself to start early and even submit early, if only even to just prove to yourself that it's important. Even if it's only like a couple $1,000s, whatever the scholarship is, it can make a big difference. And so you really want to like make this a priority and not save all this writing and stuff like that until the last minute, because otherwise you might not put your best quality work forward. So that's all for me. Hopefully that was helpful. And yeah, to the next person.
Thank you so much to our students for that very helpful information. Before we get to the Q&A portion, Jeff and I are just going to take a few minutes to tell you about some upcoming scholarships that we have. So Jeff Kotis is going to go first from Office of Letters and Sciences.
Hello everyone, as Casey just said, I'm Jeff Kotis. I'm actually the coordinator for transfer student programs in Letters and Sciences. And I just very quickly wanted to tell you about 2 scholarships that we have coming up. The deadline for both is May 31st. Both of them have the same qualifications. So you can take a look at the qualifications here, the eligibility for them. A little bit of background, the Betty Beckley Award. Betty Beckley was the first director of Letters and Sciences, and we have the scholarship in her honor now. The Letters and Sciences Award is a separate scholarship that we have, which is an endowment from funds that we raise through our pre-law fair every year. And so using these 2 separate sources of funds, we award a couple different scholarships per year. So be sure to go ahead and take a look over the requirements. We're going to be sending out the slides for this after today's presentation. So go ahead and take a look at this. If you meet the qualifications, please go ahead and submit by May 31st.
Thanks. And then the last scholarship we're going to talk about is the Brandon Malstrom Scholarship. So this is a scholarship that the Stamp Student Union runs, and it's specifically for transfer students. So Brandon Malstrom was a student here who unfortunately passed away while he was a student, and his parents created an endowed scholarship in his name. So this application, we're going to open it in May, and the deadline will be June 1st. It is an online application, so we'll be posting that on our website and sending it out via our listserv. You must be a transfer student enrolled at UMD with at least a 3.0 GPA. I often get the question of, well, maybe I'm an enrolled student now, but I don't yet have a Maryland GPA. That's okay, you can still apply. You must be a Maryland resident or have graduated from a Maryland high school. And financial need is a consideration, so we will be taking a look at that. Some application tips. The application prompts are going to ask you a couple different questions, including why you came to Maryland and what your goals are, your career goals, and also to describe your financial need. So a couple tips is, first of all, for that first one, you want to articulate a very clear vision of why you came to Maryland and what you want to do, okay? The second one is you want to develop a clear and compelling description of your financial need. Don't just tell me, I need some money, right? Tell me a little bit of why. Maybe there's like, a little bit of background there that gives us a little bit more insight to you as a student and your situation. Make sure that it's well organized and free of errors. I really got applications last semester that were like one sentence long and not even a complete sentence. Don't do that. That's not going to win you the scholarship, okay? And each of the prompts will be a max of 250 words. So if you have any questions about that, you can certainly let me know. We're going to get to questions in just 1 second. Just one more resource for you or maybe friends. So some of the scholarships we've talked about are specifically for U.S. citizens. So we did want to include a little bit of information for students who may be undocumented, or perhaps you have friends that might benefit from this information. So first of all, we do have a Office of Undocumented Student Life. Her name is Laura, and she's a wonderful resource. She's actually going to pop in hopefully for a few minutes to answer any questions people might have. But she did share this information. First of all, we have a scholarship specifically for undocumented students here at Maryland. It's called the TERP Dream Scholarship. And that's the link there, and you can find out a little bit more information about the application, the deadlines. There's also a lot of great resources that are not only going to give you scholarship information, but maybe also give some broader information for undocumented students, such as resources you might need to know about undocumented student rights and that kind of thing. So this is a great resource, and again, we'll be sharing out this PowerPoint. So I think it's time for questions. So I'm actually going to ask my panelists if we could come up in front to be close to the microphone, and then we can just open it up for questions. So what questions? Yes, you've been very patient. Go ahead.
The Brandon James transfer scholarship, you're talking about the GPA requirements. Is that for Maryland Institute only, or is that cumulative?
It is if you are currently enrolled and you have a Maryland GPA, it will be by your Maryland GPA. If you do not yet currently have a GPA, we'll refer to your past GPA.
Question from Matt.
Yeah.
How do you apply to the Tau Sigma?
You have to be a member first. So the requirements for Tau Sigma are if you transfer in and get a 3.5 GPA or better in your first semester after transferring, then we contact you and we give you information just via email about how you can join. It is restricted to that first semester criteria. So in terms of applying to a scholarship, you would have to go through that and say, okay, I want to join and stuff. But for events in general, like, we're pretty open to all transfers, just as a little plug there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Don't be shy. Any questions about advisors? Useful.
Where's your office located for the national scholarships?
2403 Marie Mount Hall. And I do have a handout in back that just is a general introduction to our office, and I also have a Gilman handout.
Some applications require a resume, and would it be wise or unwise to add like part-time jobs or just like any wage jobs? Oh, that's general.
For
to
anybody.
everybody.
Oh, okay. I guess it depends how much other stuff you have to add and if it's relevant to the scholarship. Like if I'm applying for, I don't know, it's like for me some like merit-based research scholarship, I don't necessarily know if I would include like I worked part-time at a grocery store on my resume. I don't know.
And keep in mind that you can also, sorry, go ahead.
So I think you can always tailor your work. I even think like for a grocery store, I worked at like a fast food restaurant. You could say I worked in a fast-paced environment. I worked in a team. I helped new employees, like train them for their new tasks. So you can always tailor it to make it sound really like professional, even though it's like, you know, restaurant job.
And keep in mind also the Career Center is a great resource for resumes, and that can be either for jobs or scholarships. So the Career Center, located on the 3rd floor of Hornbeck, you can actually just walk up anytime and meet with a peer advisor to review your resume. Super helpful. They definitely know what they're talking about. They do a really good job. So
We do have the writing center, so make use of that. They're pretty good.
yeah. I saw another hand. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For the national scholarships again, so you said that a lot of scholarships are for non-tuition based things, correct?
That's right.
So for example, there's quite a few organizations connected with the university that do volunteer things, such as volunteer abroad with orphanages or a lot of ecology reconstruction type things. Would those be relevant to your scholarships?
Well, it depends. For Gilman, it now is open to internships, and we had somebody recently apply for a program, something like you just described. And he was able to complete the application because we could find somebody on campus who, in his college here, who is willing to certify the application to say that, yes, he plans to do this, yes, this is a real organization, it's been vetted. So in that sense, it can be helpful. But the programs, we don't administer any programs. We just help our students apply for these national programs, which tend to be related to the government. But in that example, I would say Gilman would be a good match.
Do any of the scholarships you all refer to apply to international students? I'm not so familiar on what they can access as far as scholarships.
For the Malstrom, if they're, as long as they're a Maryland resident, I think they might be eligible. I need to double check on that.
I'm not sure.
We can double check on that.
So most of the scholarships that's awarded through our office financial aid, even with the endowed scholarship funds, it's typically for not international students. So they're more geared towards, U.S. citizen or, yeah.
On our website, we do have a link to a database, I believe it's based at Grinnell University, that is for international students. The program that we work with for which international students can apply is the Point Foundation. This is for people who are leaders in the LGBTQ community.
And also, Crystal was referring to a project that she did last semester, a big scholarships database. We're working on sort of cleaning it up, and once it's done, we're hoping to post it to our website. And I believe there's a lot of scholarships on there that would be open to international students as well. Thought I saw another hand. I have a question for Melina. So as students are applying for scholarships and sort of maybe getting, different ones coming in, what sort of process do students need to do to inform the Office of Financial Aid about that, and what are some considerations that students need to think about?
Well, so when you're receiving outside scholarships, if you are a recipient of financial aid, you can actually log in to view your information online. There is 3 sections, and section 2, you must report any outside scholarships on that particular section, because otherwise it may impact your awards. Because the way that it works is that if you're getting any outside scholarships, it's actually streamlined through the Office of the Bursar. So they receive the check, they will then enter the information into the system, and then we actually then pull from their system. So by making sure that you report the information under section 2, we'll be proactive about it, instead of, maybe the scholarship funds already dispersed to your account, and then the scholarship is having an impact on your financial aid, and then we have to go in and reduce it. Typically, we try our best not to penalize the students, so we will always reduce any need-based federal aid first, so such as any direct Stafford loan that you may have, or any unsubsidized Stafford loan. So we go into the loans first, and then before we go into any other institutional funding. But yes, it is important that you report that information under section 2 of the award packet.
This packet that you're referring to, it's an application?
It's the financial aid award packet. When you go in to check your financial aid status, you log in, right, with your username and password. And then once you log in, I don't have a dummy code that I can show you. Once you log in, you'll see awards, documents, and whatnot. Under awards, that's where you want to click on. So I don't know if you're a recipient of financial aid, but typically.
I'm ineligible for financial aid, but I have an outside scholarship.
Okay.
And that thankfully.
So then for your case, it's fine because you're not a recipient of financial aid, so it really doesn't matter how many outside scholarships you receive, it will not impact your eligibility. Yeah.
So I was received a scholarship by my EA for education abroad. That scholarship was $750 for towards cash for the program, and then $750 reduction from the program. So in our report, would that just be $750 or would that be $1,500?
It would typically, it should be $750. I think I've seen a lot of those awards. So whatever is posted through through ProSam, I guess, whatever awards they posted through, but yeah, it should be $750,
Okay.
yeah.
For the Gilman Scholarship, is that only for studying abroad, or is there a different path that you can take?
It's for study or interning abroad.
And also, is there a way we can get the PowerPoint again?
Mm-hmm. Yep, so just make sure that you've signed in. If you have not signed in, we have a sign sheet in the back. Just make sure your email is clearly spelled out. Our plan is to email out the PowerPoint as a resource, and you're welcome to share with friends who might need this information too. And again, we are recording this, so if you have friends that weren't able to attend, we're going to post the video a little bit later in the semester for any students who might have missed today's session. So. Other questions? No? Well, I hope you'll join me in thanking all of our panelists for this great information.